not walk around casting judgment on one another. Because Paul says the reason we don't is that God is going to come back and do that. Kind of this dark place where he says that God is going to come and He's going to shine a light in every motive, the deepest, darkest, the corners of your heart that you don't want anyone to know, those thoughts you've had or those things that you've done. God's going to reveal those. But He doesn't just leave us standing there naked. The last line gives hope, and it says that each man will receive praise from God. And that each man is those who are following Him. I've got a really good friend that's actually here today, sitting in the back. He's the bald hillbilly back there. I've asked him permission to give his testimony for him, or a portion of it. He's in town along with Chase and his family because my brother turned 30 yesterday, and we went to college together. And Mike's got an incredible testimony. Matter of fact, last night we were, we love to hunt and fish and just have a good time. But there's a spiritual connection there that makes it go further than just hunting and fishing and hanging out. And so, Mike some time ago was telling me his testimony, and one thing you have to know about him is when he was 7, his dad died. And that was a difficult thing. And there wasn't a lot of worry about him later in life because he continued to go to church. He went to church every week, went on mission trips, was involved in youth group. And his mom and his parents and his family thought, they thought everything's okay. But inside of Mike was a bitterness. And he would say, why did God take my dad away? Kind of this unjust feeling that the world was against him. And so that caused him to kind of get involved in some things, and a portion of his life was only dedicated to sports, and that's all he cared about at some point. And then later it was just all about having fun. And eventually one day he was in Springfield at an FCA gathering, and a guy grabbed him and said, "Hey, come over here. I want to show you this track." And he's going through that track with Mike. He said it was the first time he ever realized that he will never know why his dad was taken on this earth. But in the same moment, he realized that he has to answer for himself. He has to answer for who his God is. God is going to come back, and there is going to be a glorious time of judgment. And there's going to be a time where we get to see that people who plant bombs get judged for that. There's also a judgment that happens right now for His believers. That God looks at us and examines us. Just like Mike 7 years ago, when God kind of put that mirror in front of him and said, "You can blame me for taking your dad, but you still have to follow me. You still have an obligation to call me God." And with that realization, Mike gave his life to Jesus. The thing is, when God looks at us and examines us and draws us to our knees, and He judges us here on earth, He doesn't just leave us there naked and alone. He sticks a hand out and He says, "Come back, my good and faithful servant." What's God's examination of you saying? Let's pray.